My name is Nelly Asere Okolo, natoka Teso North, Busia County, but I'm working with Collaborative Center for Gender and Development, CCGD, in Busia County, where I am a youth champion fighting against sexual and gender-based violence. And if you have any questions within Nambale region, I'm the one to call. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about transactional sex in Busia County. Transactional sex is exchanging sex, selling yourself for money, goods, or even services. Busia County hit the news at around 2016, 2017 to 2018 on sex for pads, which was covered by Citizen TV, and it was very alarming to learn about how young girls, not just women, but also young girls below the age of 18, who are engaging in transactional sex for as little as 100 or 50 shillings just to get a packet of sanitary towels. So the causes of this transactional sex in Busia County is mainly due to the location. It's around the Kenya-Ugandan border, where we have two borders, one in Busia, one in Malaba, where the two major truck routes from Mombasa to Kampala, Uganda, via Nairobi, of course. So these women, most of them, young girls, they don't consider themselves as commercial sex workers, or how maybe other people might call them, prostitutes. But they think of themselves as women or girls who do it just to survive. Because as I have earlier mentioned in the definition, it comes around when you're trying to sell yourself to gain something. Most of them do it for even food, a plate of food, or chapati and madondo, because they cannot afford this. So poverty, which is lack of the basic needs like food, sanitary towels, or even inner clothing, is leading our young girls and women in Busia County to engage in this transactional sex. And some of the cases we've met on the ground are sometimes even the parents, due to poverty, engage or encourage their children and young girls to go and do this transactional sex so that they can bring home maybe unga ya ugali or some small food for them to eat. And there is a rise in these cases which end up in teenage pregnancies because of the disco matanga. When someone dies, according to most traditions in this area, they have an overnight dance or music just to celebrate the life. And sometimes these kids go to disco matanga and end up meeting with people who exploit them for little things. Another one is about peer pressure. Most of our young girls cannot keep up or cannot accept themselves for the life they have, and they meet maybe their fellow students in school having good phones, wearing good clothes, and they now want the good life. And maybe they come from very poor backgrounds where the parents cannot afford to buy them clothes which are just trending, ama a good phone, a good smartphone. So they end up transacting in this to become who their friends are. And another one is about drugs and also alcohol, which is very common in the area due to, again, the proximity of the border. Since alcohol is quite cheap in Uganda, so they end up drinking and losing their selves, and they cannot really think properly or make proper decisions, and end up transacting in sex for maybe money for the alcohol. Some of this come from a research which was done by World Bank Group in 2009, where they took Busia as a study area, and they came to know these are the facts of why this is happening here. So some of the effects of the transactional sex, it leads to pregnancy, unwanted or teenage or early pregnancies, where because these girls maybe don't want to get pregnant, are not ready to have kids, or they're even below the age of 18, and they end up getting pregnant because they had sex just to get sanitary towels. And there is a spread of HIV and AIDS also, and amongst other sexual transmitted infections also. This can also lead to death, whereas maybe the child is very young and is pregnant, and the body cannot be able to like give birth or push the pregnancy well, so they end up sometimes even giving birth during childbirth. Another effect is school dropouts. Most of these girls, once they get pregnant and go to school and drop out of school, once they give birth, they are afraid of coming back to school because of maybe their friends watawachekelea kwa sababu they have kids and they are kids. And another effect, which I will try to explain, is again poverty. Yes, poverty can be both a cause and an effect of the act, because you are going to transact in sex because you cannot afford a plate of food or you cannot afford sanitary towels. Then again, you go get pregnant and get another mouth to feed, so it brings you deeper into the poverty than where you are. So part of the solutions that I can offer to give is one of which already exists, which is the county government. After the news alerts and the alarming numbers, the county government came up with a budget kitty, an emergency fund to facilitate distribution of sanitary towels to schools, both primary and secondary schools, at least to ensure these kids are not missing school or transacting in sex because they cannot afford sanitary towels. And this has also been emulated by NGOs, CBOs, and other major organizations, including ourselves. Number 2, I would say there should be monitored distribution of these sanitary towels. This is to ensure that these pads are going to the people who actually need the pads. Because sometimes we come into situations where you distribute pads to schools or to the teachers, then the sanitary towels don't reach the young girls or the students you intend them to reach. Follow-up programs should also be done in maybe schools or villages to ensure that whatever things you've put in place to curb this is actually working. Mentorship programs should also be where you're talking to these young girls and women, teaching them how to negotiate, teaching them how they should value themselves in order for them not to be easy to go into issues like transactional sex just to fend for themselves. And yes, skills, empowering them with skills and trainings of their businesses so that they are able to fend for themselves without necessarily depending on people or money from truck drivers and other people. For the students, activities should be done at least during the holidays to engage them so that they don't have time to think about other things like disco matanga or time to engage with other students that give them peer pressure. So as an organization, CCGD, in partnership with other organizations, we do mentorship programs across Busia County, every sub-county, where we talk to students in schools, women, and even the community about both how to end this transactional sex, teenage pregnancy, and sexual and gender-based violence. We also distribute pads and offer lessons on menstrual hygiene management because we realized we give these students pads, they don't even know how to use them. So we teach them how to use them, how to keep themselves safe and clean. We also offer skills and trainings for businesses for young women or majorly victims, or let me call them survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, where we even empower their businesses by funding them after their trainings to reduce vulnerability. We also offer counseling services to people who have undergone sexual and gender-based violence, because some of them, it's not just transactional sex, but they are manipulated into getting into these behaviors or end up being doing transactional sex because of their previous traumas. Maybe they got raped or something of that sort. And we also have activities for holidays in partnership with other organizations like the Border Hub, where you can have computer lessons, trainings in art, and other things to keep the kids busy during the holidays. And finally, I'd just like to end with this. The long holidays are here. The kids will be home for like 7 weeks, and it is good for parents, both parents and other people in the community, to be vigilant. Talk to these kids, teach them, create an environment where they are able to talk to you and tell you when they need something. The COVID restrictions and the holidays might contribute to higher cases of transactional sex, teenage pregnancies, and even cases of sexual and gender-based violence. So we should all stay woke and alert, and in case we see this happening, let us report all cases to the police and relevant parties or call 1195. Thank you.